healing communities from racism and building healthy and inclusive environments. Thank you for staying with us. I'm Erin LeBeau.
And I'm Tamsin Fidel. Well, new research shows that racism in youth leaves black women with a lasting risk of depression in a study. 2/3 of women say they experienced racism as a child. 1/3 of them had symptoms of depression.
Now organizations want to use this research to start the healing process. So joining us right now to talk about this is Nurse Kim Ali, who's a wellness and mental health coach, as well as diversity and inclusion and equality expert. So thank you for joining us.
My pleasure, ladies. Thank you for having me.
So we want to actually start just talking about what effect can racism have on black people's mental health?
Well, I remember just being the young age of 3 years old, and I was at daycare and I was playing with a white friend. And when her mother came to pick her up, she was appalled that her daughter was playing with a little black girl. And so we were no longer friends after that day. And so now when we look at black women, by the time we are 18 or 21 and we enter into the workforce, we've already sustained a lifetime of racial trauma. And so this study is evidence that we need to provide support to begin the healing process now more than ever.
So when we talk about diversity and inclusion, there's a term that we hear all the time, microaggression. What exactly is that?
So microaggressions are subtle remarks or behaviors, and they're normally unconscious, but they could be offensive to marginalized groups.
So what needs to be done, and what resources are out there to help?
So what I do is I go into organizations and I share with them 3 ways that they can start building inclusive work environments. So the first way is do an assessment. Now, not just an email survey. Leadership needs to be boots on the ground and talk to people and find out what it is like to work in their organization. Next, provide training. So remember, I just said microaggression is unconscious, and so individuals aren't even aware what they are doing or saying, because through education you have awareness, and with awareness you can bring change. And last but not least, we have to hold people accountable. So for example, we all know that sexual harassment is a no-no in the workplace. And so the same thing should be true for microaggression and systemic racism. So we want to do verbal warnings, written warnings, and then finally termination, just like any other policy in an organization.
So you're talking a little bit about the workplace. Now, can racism actually impact a person's performance in society?
It does. Unfortunately, just 2.5 years ago, I was a systemic racism survivor. Now, I lost my job to racism, and not only did it affect me mentally, but it affected me physically as well. And we all know when we are dealing with mental health issues, it is impossible for us to show up at work and thrive.
So what can be done, talk about at a community level to help young children?
So organizations who are committed to serving communities can provide support and toolkits to help children of color cope with racism. And another thing that could be done, and this is actually pretty cool, is to have international days. So that way individuals from different races, ethnicities, and religions can come together and start building down those walls that are separating us. Because look, at the end of the day, we are all from the human race, and we have more in common than we do different. We just need to create those opportunities to see our similarities.
Yeah, and seeing those similarities, you realize how connected we are.
Yes,
you do.
In our individual stories. Well, Kim, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Take care.